Today, and now we're going to talk about this principle of what I like to call a responsive heart. That sometimes God doesn't necessarily wake us up to do something, but sometimes God just wakes us up because He wants to get our attention. We all know the importance of a wake-up call. Any of you ever recently been on a vacation or something and not wanted to miss your flight? You'd call the hotel concierge and they'd give you a wake-up call in the morning. We know the importance that the wake-up call is there so that we don't miss something very important. It may be something just as common as getting up and going to work in the morning and not being late for work. Or it may be something like going duck hunting or something else that we might enjoy doing. But we know that a responsive heart is one that understands that there are times when God interrupts or prevents rest just to communicate with them. A responsive heart progressively learns to hear, obey, and surrender to the voice of God during these times. This slide shows a picture of a bear fixing to hibernate, and he says, "Hello, front desk. I'd like to leave a March wake-up call." You know, and sometimes that's our attitude. It's like, okay, God, why don't you deal with me? Why don't you talk to me during business hours? 8 to 5. But man, don't mess with my sleep. Don't mess with my rest. And so the question is, why does God do that? Why would God not talk to us, during business hours? Well, first of all, just a reminder that, God's eyes never close, that God never becomes conscious like we do. And God really doesn't owe us any kind of explanation for being able to intrude into our life. He is God. He is the Lord of sleep, and He can do what He chooses. But also, I think sometimes the reasons that God talks to us during the nighttime hours is because during the daytimes, we're so busy, we're so distracted, we've got so many things going on with the activities of daily life that it tends to drown out our sensitivity and our ability to hear God's voice. I think my wife understands this principle probably better than anybody. Now, a little confession, when I put the kids to bed, it's kind of the shut up and go to bed technique. You know what I'm saying? I tell the kids, okay guys, no water, no bathroom, life's tough, deal with it, just go to bed. You know what I'm saying? But my wife, man, she has such a different approach, and this is probably a better approach. My wife has this long ordeal with the kids. Each kid, we have 5 kids, okay, so that takes a long time. But each kid she spends time with them, talking with them and listening to them. And my wife has understood a very important principle in our kids' lives. That, sometimes when they lay their heads on their pillow and they begin to slow down and develop a little bit more of a reflective mood, that there are those teachable moments that arise. Those times when our kids are just more receptive to hearing maybe the instruction of their mother. And I think it's the same way with God. God understands that sometimes during the day, we're just so busy and so distracted that God wants our undivided attention. When He speaks to us, He wants us to listen and to get the message. There's a lot of examples of this in the Old Testament.